This was basically your dream role to play.
To be honest, I wasn't like Peter Capaldi, who I'm told was a fan, as in fan, joined fan clubs. I didn't do that. But then I was getting too old. I was an adult when it started. So I always watched it if I was there. But I probably wouldn't have gone to an event like this, in order to meet one of the earlier doctors. But I always liked the programme and chose to watch it if I could. And in the days, of course, before VCRs, as they were called then, there wasn't the opportunity to record them. So I saw some of Hartnell, some of Patrick Troughton, a little bit of Bert Tweed, not much of Tom, because by that time I was working as an actor. So it went out on a Saturday evening, and if I was an actor working in theatre, that's when I'd be working.
Okay.
But I've always been very fond of the programme. And I suppose if you're talking about an existing character that is continuing, that's about the only one, really.
Yeah, it is.
And there aren't any other characters, unless you're in Dallas and you die and you're not dead, and you come back looking like somebody else. There aren't many programmes that do that. So it is a dream role, and every actor who's played it will say it's a dream role, but I didn't dream of doing it before I did it, if you see what I mean.
I totally understand. We have a question over here, or no, we don't, back over here. I thought the guy in green had a question, I guess.
He's just a guy in green.
He's just a guy in green. All right, sorry, say your name and where you're from.
I am Marie-Joëlle from Chicoutimi in Quebec. My question is, I was reading an article recently about a writer that would be that it would be interesting to see writing for the next season of Doctor Who, and your name was appearing on it. Would it be something that would interest you, and would it be a possibility, having you write an episode of Doctor Who?
Because I'm old and deaf, I didn't hear much of that.
That's okay. No, but basically she said she saw an article saying that the new season of Doctor Who is being written, and she saw that your name came up, that you could be possibly playing a part in the new season. Is this true?
Not playing a part, writing.
Oh, in writing the new season.
Writing the new season?
Writing an episode in the new season.
For the television show?
Yes.
No, I'm afraid there is absolutely, I haven't heard this whisper, but there's no truth in that.
Okay.
I mean, I have no history of writing television drama, so even if I expressed an interest, I don't think they'd be terribly interested. I've always said I might write a big Finnish story. Maybe that's how it's kind of meandered into the realms of fantasy. But the writing on Doctor Who on television now is of such a very high standard. I haven't seen all of the new series. I've only seen the first two of Peter Capaldi. But every story I've seen from Eccleston through to Capaldi, I've watched has been excellent. The writing is very good, so they don't need me to mess it up.
Do we have any other questions? If not, I'm going to get you up. If you want, make a line, folks. You can come on up or whatever else, too. So just say your name and where you're from and your question.
My name is Randy, and I'm from Niagara region.
Hello, Randy.
Hello, Colin. Oh, sorry, Mr. Baker.
No, Colin.
You're familiar with the reboot of the series and everything. I'm wondering if there's something in the newer episodes that you really liked, a change, and if there was something in the reboot that you really didn't like of the new part.
Yeah, I can answer both those questions very simply. I liked enormously the fact that they could do so much now. In my day, if the script said 1,000 Daleks stream out of the sky and destroy the city, the accountants would have had a heart attack, and if they had tried to do it, it would have consumed the annual budget. Now it consumes about 15 seconds of a 12-year-old's time at a computer. So I'm envious of that. They can do that brilliantly now. The special effects and what they can do with computer-generated images is wonderful. deep envy. I also envy the budget, because now the programme is loved. During the 80s, the BBC didn't show many signs of loving Doctor Who. Now they really do, and they understand it as the flagship programme for the BBC worldwide. It was back in the 70s and 80s too. It's just that the people around the BBC weren't motivated, can you believe, by the desire to make money. It wasn't within the charter. So the fact that in my day the programme earned more in overseas sales than it cost to make didn't register with the people who ran the BBC. It went back into the general BBC coffers, but they were slightly embarrassed by the success of Doctor Who, which partly was the reason why it was ditched in 1989. Now, of course, the BBC set up differently. They want to, and will have to, because it may well be the way the BBC's run will change in the future. So programmes like Doctor Who are very important to the BBC. What did I like about the new series? I like the writing, I like the look of it, I like the casting of the doctors. All those things are excellent. I wasn't keen on the romance. Doctors going into alternative time streams to live with their companions in happy marital bliss doesn't do it for me. We had a saying in my day, the wonderful John Nathan Turner, which was, "No hanky-panky in the TARDIS." And I kind of like that. I like the idea of the fatherly relationship between a doctor and a companion. I don't want no love. And I don't think most girls want to see their dishy doctor getting together with Billy Piper. They want him for themselves. And ditto the way round. I'm not keen on that. There were a couple of moments I didn't like. I remember in one scene, the Doctor and his companion were rude to Queen Victoria. They took the mickey out of her, as we say. I didn't like that either. They're small niggles, but nonetheless, they are niggles. But what they do, I haven't finished.
Sorry.
I'll tell you when to speak.
Okay, sorry.
When I do that, you can talk, okay? Jim, you've interrupted my train of thought now. What they do brilliantly now is scare children. If there's a job that Doctor Who arguably wasn't doing that well before it came back, it is driving children back where they belong, behind the sofa. And particularly Stephen Moffat knows how to do that. He really does. I think that became clear when my favourite story ever, which was The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. I was a school governor. I went into a primary school for a meeting. The day after, or the 2 days after the first, on Monday, they showed the first episode. And all the kids in the playground were going around saying, "Are you my mummy?" Which shows you the power of Doctor Who at its best. And it was really scary. I think it was a really chilling image. And that story also has, I think, the best line of any Doctor Who story ever, which is, "Everybody lives." Do you remember that? Crystal Eccleston did. So the best thing about it is, everybody lives. If Doctor Who's about anything, it's about that. So they brought it back brilliantly. So any niggles I have are minor niggles. They've got brilliant villains as well. You know, time after time you come up with another new scare, the Silence. The Weeping Angels, yes, they're scary, but they should have factored in the fact that, okay, the 10th Doctor may not have thought of this, but the 6th Doctor certainly would, if he'd been there. Right, you are a horde of angels looking at me now. All you have to do when they're stuck, exchange eyes, wink. But I'll forgive him, he's young. But they were very scary anyway. And I love the Slovene. Oh, they farted, come on. You've got to love a monster that farts. Are you allowed to say farts?
You are allowed to say, but I want to talk.
Eh?
You didn't go like this. Can I talk?
No, I didn't do that.
No, but you guys, thank you. All right, thank you. Yes, you're allowed to say farts.
Fine, thank you.
All right,
Now it's your turn.
thank you very much for your question. Yes, where are you from, your name?
My name's Eric. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, how you doing? I remember watching you when your debut episode when I was a kid, when you first came out, and I always wondered, with that little look in your eye, just how much you enjoyed saying your first line.
Change, my dear. You know, I didn't enjoy it at all. Because it was at the end of Caves of Androsani, as you know, and they'd asked me to come in to record just that. And the recording, I watched the recording, and everything went wrong that day. There was supposed to be a huge scene where Peter's doctor battled with the magma monster. And they ran out of time. So they had to, the poor guy who built the magma monster was in tears because there was choreographed a huge scene of Peter battling with him before succumbing and then crawling off. What they did was lay it on its side. He walked past it, lying on the floor dead, saying, "Not your day, was it?" You don't know why he died, how he died, because they simply didn't have time, because they knew they had to film my bit in the last 5 minutes of recording time. So I was aware of the time pressure. So they said, "Right, come on, let's do the Regeneration." And he lay on the floor, did his bit. Then they dragged me in. And I only got about 4 minutes to film that. I had 2 goes at it. And I wasn't happy because I blinked in the middle of it. But there wasn't time to do it again. So whenever I see that, and it's shown quite frequently at conventions, I see that damn blink. It'd be much better if I just maintained the gaze. And then it was a month before I did anything else. So that process, whenever I see that, I remember the process, which was rushed. But it was enjoyable.
You did a magnificent job. I would have never thought that.
Well, thank you very much. Actors are all the same. Very wisely, a lot of actors never watch their work because there's always something you'd like to have done better. But I am drawn to it, sadly. Although last week, for the first time since it went out in 1986, I was forced at another event like this to sit down and watch the last episode of Regeneration of the Daleks, which I hadn't seen since it was broadcast, because the only other time I've seen my stuff is when I did the audio commentaries for the DVD, and I wasn't available to do it when they did Revelation. So I watched it, and 30 years later I was thinking, actually that's not bad. At the time I'd been very critical of myself, but I'd forgotten the story, so I got hooked on what's going to happen next.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your question. Yes, over here.
Hi, I'm Noah from Vineland.
Hi, Noah.
I'm his son.
I can't actually
You actually admitted that.
because it's bright light in my eyes.
The guy with the hand went up waving.
Hello there.
He asked a question earlier, I guess.
You're allowed to have questions within the family.
Yes.
We are all one big family, aren't we? Where's the rest of you?
They didn't want to hang out with the family.
Isn't it? Don't you think there's something wrong with scheduling my talk first on the Friday night when all this people still queuing to come in? And this is the only talk I'm doing this weekend. Shame, I say.
At my high school, I'm one of only a very small handful of kids there who watch Doctor Who and enjoy it as much as I do.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if someone came up to you and said, "Hey, I'm interested in watching Doctor Who. What's it all about? And why should I watch it?" How would you answer them?
Well, I'm the last person really who should have to do that. It really should be people who have watched it that recommend other people to watch it. But what I would probably say is that in the same way that fairy stories like Grimm's fairy tales and all those things have been handed down over hundreds of years, tales of people who fight the fight against impossible odds and come out and hopefully eventually win, about scary monsters, about nightmares, and about dreams, and about knights in shining armour, rhyming to protect the weak, then if you want a modern take on that, with a bit of sci-fi thrown in, then Doctor Who is the thing to watch. Because this is the same as those fireside stories told by the Stone Age men to excite and motivate their peers. This is the equivalent of that. It's not unique in that. There are lots of other things on television now. Now all those Marvel books, comics have been made into films and TV serials. There's an awful lot of that going on. And in that territory is Doctor Who. And it's been going for 50 years, and it's still going strong, which is a sign that somewhere somebody's getting it right. And I'm proud to be part of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, over here, your name.
We're going to continue with the reincarnation after Peter Capaldi, and furthermore that there's a lot of push for that reincarnation to be a female. And I'm just wondering what your opinions on are going past that 12 reincarnation rule, and what your opinion on it being the next Doctor being a female would be.
Well, I'm coming at that from two different directions. The first one is, I never regenerated. What you saw was Sylvester McCoy lying in my coat. Therefore, I am still the Doctor. So until I regenerate, we've got 6 more, and he started off some new kind of false Doctor line. So Peter Capaldi is number 6. And I would add that every 6 times they get it right too. So think of the qualities of Peter Capaldi. He's grumpy. He's dangerous. He doesn't do what you expect. He's intolerant. He's angry. He's rude. I like him. But if you accept that the McCoy regeneration was genuine, and indeed I have now recorded a regeneration story for Big Finish, which comes out in the autumn, which is, I have to say, the reason I agreed to do it is it's brilliant. Because it really does join up everything that's gone before to that moment you saw on television. But it flips it through 180 degrees. And I think anyone who chooses to buy it and listen to it will be very satisfied. The other thing about regeneration is, oh come on, just because somebody in one episode once said I could only regenerate 12 times, in other episodes they've said, oh, the Doctor would last forever if all the circumstances were right. Well, you can bet your sweet bippy that the circumstances will be right. And when Peter Capaldi decides, right, I'm going to go and do a lot of conventions and charge $1 billion an autograph, and disappears off the screen, there will be another Doctor coming along, and quite right too. A good programme always finds a way of keeping itself going as long as the fans want to see it. And I see no signs of that not being the case. And I'm sorry I haven't seen a lot of Peter's work, because the first couple of episodes I saw, I really liked. I think he's an excellent Doctor. And a grown-up! Unlike his callow youths we have. Much though I like them both, David Tennant and Matt Smith, they're kids. Come on, the Doctor's 900 odd years old, probably 1,000 now. So, I think we should have a 93-year-old woman next. On the question whether it should be a woman, why the heck not? I know why not, because the BBC will be too frightened to do it. Because they will feel that they will lose viewers if the Doctor regenerated as a woman. I think if they thought people would embrace the notion, they'd do it. Because they've done it with the Master, haven't they? So why not do it with the Doctor? And I think the Doctor, if anybody's in touch with his feminine side, it'll be the Doctor. So I'd love to see a female Doctor, or even a transgender Doctor, or a Martian Doctor, or an animal Doctor, maybe a talking Afghan hound. Why not? Could be a short regeneration. Woof woof, goodbye. If ever was an opportunity for a programme to boldly go where other programmes have not gone before, then that is what the opportunity offered by Regeneration.
Thank you very much for your question. Yes, over here.
Hello.
Hello.
A few cons ago, about a year in Montreal.
A few cons ago.
In a galaxy far away, then. Better? I asked you what was your favorite episode of Doctor Who that you recorded, and you said the two doctors. And I was wondering, what was your favorite scene?
Oh, golly. I tend to give a different answer every time to stop myself getting bored. Because, you know, when you're asked a question, when I go to a lot of conventions, as I do, you get asked a question. After a while of saying the same thing, you actually question it and think, was that really my favourite story? And you think, how do you know, I also like this one. So I make the changes a bit. The Two Doctors was probably my favourite, not in terms of the story, which was very good, but because of working with Patrick Troughton, who I loved inordinately, who was a great man, without whom you wouldn't be sitting here today, had it not been for that first regeneration that Patrick Troughton did so magnificently and originally and stylishly. Without him, Doctor Who would have passed away 4 years after it started. So we owe him a great debt. And to work with him on the Two Doctors was a rare privilege. He was a warm, generous, clever, talented man, and much missed. My favourite scene, there was a scene, my wife mentioned it the other day. She said one of her favourite scenes was at the end of The Twin Dilemma. Not a greatly loved story, but at the end, when the Doctor's Time Lord friend dies, Edgeworth dies, and that was a moment when the Doctor allowed himself to show his feelings, and I actually like that. I've had lots more opportunities like that in Big Finish. I mean, if you listen to Arrangements for War, or Thank You Very Much, or The Pirates, thank you. Those are two stories that enabled my Doctor to show his compassionate side. And the Big Finish stories have given me lots of opportunities to show the complexity of what it must mean to be someone who has been himself but somebody else 5 times before, in my case, and seen what he's seen. So he's not always going to behave in a way that you would expect coming from Buffalo or New York or Ontario. He comes from Gallifrey and he's seen stuff people shouldn't see. And when we made the TV programme, I wanted that to be apparent, but with the possibility of showing over a longer period of time why he was like that. And the example I gave before I started doing the programme of how I would like the Sixth Doctor to be seen. Well, there are 2 examples in fiction. One is Snape in Harry Potter, who for 9/10 of that 15 hours of wonderful drama, you think is evil, and then you learn that he's actually a truly noble person. And ditto in Pride and Prejudice, Darcy, the character of Darcy, is one we think is proud, arrogant, unpleasant, but actually he's the person who's got the highest possible moral standing. And I like characters being difficult to get hold of. Some of the closest friends in my life are ones that I didn't warm to when I first met them, but then you peel away the layers and find what's underneath, and you find you enjoy their company. Hope the Doctor's the same.
Thank you very much for your question. We have 3 more questions we have time for, so please give us your name and where you're from and your question.
My name is Jan, and
Hi, handsome.
I'm from Mississauga. And
Well-dressed man. Sorry, carry on.
my question is, when you recorded the Big Finish Regeneration, what was that like for you, and did you have any advice for your successor?
Any advice for a successor? You mean
Sylvester.
McCoy? Recording the Regeneration, McCoy wasn't there, and he's been playing the part for a little while now. Possibly doesn't need too much advice from me. What was it like doing it? Well, as I said earlier, I was kind of reluctant, because somehow I don't know, the Sixth Doctor was eternal until that moment. And he still is, of course, because it's extraordinary. Once it was announced that I was doing a I'll let you open it. Thank you. You do have a purpose. Thank you. Can I call you Hebe?
You can call me whatever you want, sir.
Who knows who Hebe is? You don't, do you? Hebe was the cupbearer to the gods. On Mount Olympus, she was the one who brought them drink. So you are Hebe.
I'm a he-Hebe.
A Hebe.
He-Hebe.
Well, Hebe.
Hebe, okay.
Hebe. You be Hebe. So where were we? Something like that. I was choking, and I just said...
So doing the regeneration and how you
Yeah.
thought he was eternal until then, and still is.
And what is surprising is how many people on Twitter and social media have said, oh, what a pity, we liked Colin Baker's audios on Big Finish, and he's not doing it anymore. Why? Well, he's doing a regeneration. All the other doctors have done regenerations, and they're still doing Big Finish. Why would I suddenly stop? I suppose it is a tad confusing. But no, I've got lots of other stories in it. It's just that one is the last in the Doctor's arc. But there are plenty of other ones along the arc, and long may they continue. Big Finish have now had their contract extended for several more years, so I am looking forward enormously to continuing to make those stories, because I've never yet had a script for Big Finish which I haven't thought was excellent. And the Regeneration one is one of the better ones amongst the excellent ones. It's very clever. Nicholas Prince is a clever man.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your question. Yes, we've got 2 more here. We got to get going, so yes.
My question for you is there ever been a doctor that you felt shouldn't have the role?
Has there ever been a doctor I thought shouldn't have the role? The other 11, really. They should have started with me and ended with me. But to treat that seriously, no, of course not. And I seriously do believe that the role of the Doctor is almost actor-proof. Anyone who's made a career as an actor has a Doctor in them. It's kind of blending of yourself and a really well-known character. We all know who the Doctor is and what he does. But each new actor brings in another why and a how and a when and all those other little decorations to the role. And, I can think maybe a dozen actors of whom I think would all be excellent Doctors. And maybe maybe some actors would play it for 2 or 3 weeks, and others would play it for 10 years. But I do think there's a myriad of potential doctors. Each one of us has a doctor in us.
Thank you very much for your question. And, no, over here. One more here then. Oh no, there's one here. Okay. Last one here then. I'm sorry, ladies. One last one here.
Oh, let them.
Colin.
Come back.
Colin saying it. Okay, so hang
This
on.
gentleman first, and then you.
No, let the ladies go first.
Ladies go
first.
Okay, there you go.
Forever.
I was wondering.
Hang on, you gotta give your name and where you're from.
My name's Allie, I'm from Niagara Falls.
Hello, Andy.
I was wondering what your biggest struggle was portraying a doctor.
The biggest struggle between what?
Portraying a doctor.
Portraying the doctor. The biggest struggle of portraying the doctor.
Biggest struggle. Getting up early in the morning. Do you know, I never struggled. It's extraordinary. I'm going to have some water. Air conditioning. I've played many roles in my career, and some I've struggled with. But the joy of the doctor is you bring your doctor to it. It follows on from what I said just now. I kind of dived in the pool of doctorness and had a ball for 3 years. And it was never a struggle in any way. Once I got over the costume, and I was on the inside looking out, so that was no problem. You had the struggle looking at it. There were no struggles. There were some long, hard days, but never a struggle. It was always uplifting. And I always find that when you're doing a job you like, you find the energy for it. And I never, ever felt exhausted, other than the good exhausted you feel at the end of doing something you like. And I always look forward to going to work. And I can't say that was true of every other job I've done. So, no struggles at all. Oh, I lost it. How kind. Go on, sir.
So thank you very much for your question. Appreciate it. All right, got 2 more, and then we're going to wrap it up. So please name from question.
My name is Nick. I'm from London, Ontario. I'm the Dalek that you ran into earlier today. My question actually was about the costume. Did you have a hand in picking that out, or did the BBC say this is what you're wearing?
I couldn't hear.
He asked if you had a hand in picking out the costume that you wanted to wear, or was it your idea for the costume,
Or was it the BBC said this is what you're
or
wearing?
the BBC?
They asked me what I would like to wear, and I thought about it, and I described almost exactly what Christopher Eccleston got. And I said it struck me the Doctor probably would derive an advantage from being able to fade into the background occasionally, to disappear into the darkness, to hide. So, all in black, the black cloak, maybe a little ruffle on the sleeve, which Chris Rhodes didn't have. But the first question I asked was, why does he wear a costume? Why can't he wear clothes? Why does the Doctor uniquely wear the same thing all the time? I mean, has he got radiation that keeps his clothes clean? Or does he have 16 of them? Then in that case, why would you wear the same thing over and over again? The answer, of course, is very prosaic. It's that the budget will only extend to buying one costume for this actor, rather than one for each new story. So they like a costume. So I suggested my Eccleston costume. And he said, no, I think you should be totally tasteless. So he asked Patricia Godfrey, who was the costume designer, to come up with a totally tasteless design. And she kept drawing these colourful things which were quite tasteful. And he dismissed them. No, too tasteful, too tasteful, too tasteful. And then she said, oh, I suppose you want something like this. And held up my costume as a joke. she thought you'd say, no, don't be ridiculous. Could you stand up and turn round? There you are. That's what she designed, and that's what I ended up with. Thank you very much. At least I didn't have to look at it. The last one, this lovely young lady here. All I can see is the red hair.
Tell us your name and where you're from and your question, please.
My name is Sarah Almeida, and I'm from Ontario, Brantford. My question is, what led you to audition for a role such as the Doctor?
What? Sorry, what?
What led you to audition?
What led you to audition for the role of the Doctor? Thank you.
You'll be appalled to hear that I didn't audition for it. I was offered it. Isn't that extraordinary? I was known as an actor in Britain, but I think almost uniquely amongst all the actors who played the part, John Nathan Turner had seen me playing the part of Maxil in a Peter Davison story, and we had met and spoken and got on very well. And when Peter said he wanted to leave, he rang me up, said, do you want to play the part? And that's all I had to do. It had to be confirmed by the head of series and serials at the BBC. So I was taken up to his office and found him watching cricket on television. And I had been listening to the cricket on my headphones when I was waiting to meet him. So we talked about cricket for half an hour, much to the bepuzzlement of John Nathan Turner, who knew nothing about cricket. And he said, yes, you'll be fine. And I was the Doctor. That's how it happened. Isn't that ridiculous?
Do you think possibly I could get a hug?
She wants a hug.
I can think of no better way to finish a Q&A than to have you run down here, jump on the stage and give me a hug.
Come on over. Colin Baker, everybody. Colin's going to be doing the panel out there and taking pictures and autographs and all that stuff, so you can see Colin out there. Colin, I want to thank you very much for coming on out.